Emily Thompson stepped off the bus in Willow Creek, Texas, on a warm afternoon in early fall. The small town hadn't changed much in the 3 years she'd been gone. The same dusty main street lined with mom-and-pop shops, the old diner where folks gathered for coffee and gossip, and in the distance, the outline of the military base where she'd started her journey. Fort Hood loomed like a silent guardian, a place full of memories, some good, most hard. At 32, Emily carried the weight of her service like an invisible backpack. She'd enlisted right out of high school, driven by a deep love for her country and a need to prove herself. Multiple tours in the Middle East had toughened her body and soul. She was brave, the kind of woman who ran toward danger when others fled. But bravery came with scars. Her left leg still ached from a shrapnel wound, and her heart bore deeper cuts from losing friends in the line of duty. As she walked toward her modest childhood home on the edge of town, Emily adjusted the strap of her duffel bag. She wore her army fatigues not because she wanted attention, but because they were comfortable and familiar. The house was quiet when she arrived. Her mother had passed away 2 years earlier during Emily's last deployment. The loss still stung, a quiet ache that never fully went away. Emily set her bag down and took a deep breath. She needed to get her life back on track. First things first, head to the bank and check her account. Deployments meant her paychecks had piled up untouched, but she figured it was just enough to cover bills and maybe fix up the old place. The local branch of Willow Creek Bank was a simple building with a few tellers and an ATM lobby. It was mid-afternoon and a short line had formed. Emily joined it, her mind wandering back to the desert sands. She remembered her best friend, Sarah, laughing over bad coffee in the mess hall. Sarah hadn't made it home, killed in an ambush where their gear failed them. Faulty vests from a big contractor, they'd said. Emily had pushed for answers, even started paperwork for a complaint before her discharge. But war had a way of swallowing such things. Ahead of her stood a man in a sharp suit, talking loudly on his phone. Victor Harrington, the town's self-made billionaire. Everyone knew him. He'd built his fortune on defense contracts, supplying equipment to the military. His company, Harrington Defense, employed half the town. Victor was in his 60s, with silver hair and a smug smile that said he owned the world. He ended his call with a bark and turned to the teller, demanding immediate service. The line moved slowly. Emily reached the teller window and smiled politely. "Hi, I just need to check my balance," she said, her voice steady but soft. She'd been through hell. A simple bank visit shouldn't rattle her. Victor, waiting nearby for some paperwork, overheard. He chuckled loudly, turning heads. "Check your balance? Ha, soldiers like you probably have more holes in your pockets than in your stories. What, expecting a penny or two from Uncle Sam?" His words dripped with mockery, his eyes scanning her uniform like it was a joke. A few people shifted uncomfortably, but no one spoke up. Victor was powerful. Crossing him meant trouble. Emily felt a flash of anger, hot and quick. She'd faced worse, bullets, bombs, the grief of loss, but this, being belittled in her own town after all she'd given, she straightened her back, her green eyes meeting his without flinching. "I've earned every cent, sir, more than you know." Her tone was calm, but inside her heart pounded. She wouldn't let him see her break. Victor laughed again, louder this time. "Earned, please, you folks come back expecting handouts. Go on, check it. I'll bet it's zero." He leaned against the counter, arms crossed, enjoying the show. The teller, a young woman named Lisa, looked apologetic as she handed Emily her statement slip. Emily inserted her card into the machine, punched in her PIN, and waited. The screen flickered. She expected to see a few $1,000s, her savings, hazard pay, maybe a small pension starting up. But the number that appeared made her blink. It wasn't thousands. It was millions. Hundreds of millions. Her balance read $450,287,643.52. Emily stared, her breath catching. This couldn't be right. Victor, peeking over curiously, went pale. The room seemed to freeze. What had just happened? Emily's world tilted, and she knew nothing would be the same. Emily stood frozen at the bank counter, her eyes locked on the screen. The number glowed back at her, over $450 million. Her mind raced. This had to be a mistake. She'd lived modestly, sending most of her pay home to her mother. No fancy investments, no lottery wins, just hard work and sacrifice. Victor Harrington recovered from his shock first, his face twisted from surprise to suspicion. "That's impossible," he muttered, loud enough for others to hear. "Must be a glitch or fraud." He stepped closer, his voice rising. "Hey, teller, check that again. No way a grunt like her has that kind of cash." Lisa, the teller, glanced nervously between them. "Ma'am, would you like me to verify this in private?" she asked Emily. Emily nodded, her hands steady despite the storm inside. "Yes, please." As Lisa led her to a back office, Emily felt Victor's glare burning into her back. His mockery still echoed in her ears, fueling a quiet resolve. She'd show him what strength really meant. In the office, the bank manager joined them. Mr. Reynolds, a kind man in his 50s, pulled up her account on his computer. "Miss Thompson, this is correct. A large deposit was made 2 months ago. It's from a legal settlement. The law firm handling it noted it's confidential, but the funds are yours." A settlement? Emily's thoughts flashed back. Before her last deployment after Sarah's death, she joined other soldiers in reporting Harrington Defense's faulty equipment. Vests that tore under fire, helmets that cracked too easily. It had cost lives. Emily had testified quietly, driven by grief and duty, but she'd left for duty before it resolved, assuming it would drag on forever. "The case went to court," Mr. Reynolds explained gently. "Your group won big. Harrington Defense paid out. Your share as a key witness is substantial. Plus, there was a personal award for your injuries." Emily's leg throbbed at the mention. The shrapnel had nearly ended her career. She touched the scar through her pants, remembering the explosion. Sarah pushing her down, taking the worst of it. Tears welled up, but Emily blinked them away. She was strong, she'd always been. "How much was the total settlement?" she asked. "Over $1 billion split among victims and families," he said. "But yours includes punitive damages. Mr. Harrington fought it hard, but the evidence was clear." Victor, of course. His company had cut corners for profit, and now it had cost him. Emily felt a mix of vindication and sorrow. This money couldn't bring Sarah back, but it was justice of a sort. As she left the office, Victor waited in the lobby, his face red with fury. "You," he spat, pointing at her. "You're that Thompson girl, the one who stirred up trouble. Think you're clever. That money won't change what you are, a nobody in uniform." Emily met his eyes, her voice even. "That money is from the lives your greed took. I'm no nobody, Mr. Harrington. I'm a survivor." She walked out, head high, but inside, emotions churned. Anger at his mockery, grief for her losses, and a new burden, this wealth she hadn't asked for. Back home, Emily sat on her porch watching the sunset. The town felt smaller now. She thought of her mother who had supported her choice to serve. "Be strong, Emmy," she'd say. "The world needs people like you." Emily had sacrificed comfort, family time, even her health for her country. Now this fortune felt like a heavy crown. But Victor's words lingered, a spark to her fire. She wouldn't let him diminish her. Tomorrow she'd learn more about the settlement, and maybe, just maybe, use this to help others. The journey ahead would test her strength, but Emily was ready. She always had been. Days after the bank revelation, Emily's life became a whirlwind. Word spread fast in Willow Creek. Small towns loved a good story. Folks whispered about the soldier who struck gold. Some congratulated her at the diner, others eyed her with envy. But Emily stayed grounded. She traded her fatigues for jeans and a simple blouse, but her posture remained that of a warrior, straight, unyielding. The money's source haunted her. She met with the lawyer from the settlement, a sharp woman named Carla in Austin. "Your testimony was key, Emily," Carla said over coffee. "We proved Harrington knew the equipment was substandard. He ignored warnings to save costs. The court awarded big to send a message." Emily nodded, her hands tight around her mug. "It cost my friend her life and others." Flashbacks hit, the blast, the screams, holding Sarah as she faded. Emily had carried that guilt, wondering if she could have done more, but her strength lay in action, not regret. "What now? He paid, but does he face real consequences?" Carla sighed. "Civil case, not criminal, but with this win more suits might follow. Stay strong, he might push back." Push back he did. Victor Harrington wasn't one to lose gracefully. At a town hall meeting that week, he stood at the podium, his voice booming. "This so-called settlement is a sham. That woman, Emily Thompson, is using her uniform to play victim. My company built this town. We've helped veterans." The crowd murmured, split between loyalty to jobs and sympathy for Emily. Emily attended, sitting quietly in the back. When Victor spotted her, he sneered. "There she is, the hero who bankrupted honest folks. Bet she's laughing all the way to the bank." Laughter rippled from his supporters. Emily felt the sting of injustice like a fresh wound, mocked again, underestimated, but she rose, her voice clear. "I fought for truth, Mr. Harrington. For the soldiers, your gear failed. This isn't about me, it's about right and wrong." The room hushed. A few clapped. Victor's face darkened, but Emily walked out with dignity. Inside, doubt crept in. Was she ready for this fight? The wealth brought isolation. Old friends treated her differently. She visited Sarah's grave at the base cemetery, kneeling in the grass. "I miss you," she whispered. "This money, it's for us, for what we lost." Tears fell, but they cleansed. Emily's emotional core, her resilience, grew stronger. Back home, calls came from reporters, charities, even distant relatives. Emily donated quietly to veteran groups, funding counseling for those like her. But Victor escalated. Rumors spread. She faked her injuries, exaggerated the case. One night, her mailbox was smashed. She knew who was behind it, but proof was slim. Emily trained her body and mind, running miles each dawn, meditating on her porch. Her journey to redemption meant facing the pain, turning sacrifice into purpose. She gathered files from the case, poring over evidence. Victor had hidden reports, maybe more dirt lay buried. As tensions rose, Emily felt a spark of hope. She wasn't alone, other veterans reached out, sharing stories. Together, they could expose the full truth. But Victor plotted in the shadows, unaware of the storm building. Emily's strength would carry her through, one step at a time. Months passed, and Emily's resolve hardened like steel in fire. The money sat mostly untouched, except for repairs to her home and support for local vets. She started a small foundation, Sarah's Shield, to help families affected by military losses. It gave her purpose, channeling her grief into good. But Victor Harrington's shadow loomed large. He launched a smear campaign. Billboards around town read, "Don't let one bad apple spoil the bunch, support Harrington jobs." Newspaper ads questioned the settlement's validity. At a charity event for the base, Victor cornered her. "You think you're tough, soldier girl? This town owes me. You'll be run out before long." His breath smelled of whiskey, his eyes full of hate. Emily stood tall, her heart steady. "Threats won't silence me, Mr. Harrington. I've faced worse enemies." She walked away, but the encounter shook her. That night alone, she allowed herself to cry for the injustice, the mockery, the endless fight. Her emotional strength came from acknowledging pain, not burying it. By morning, she was ready again. She reached out to allies. First, old Army buddies. Mike, a fellow survivor from her unit, drove down from Dallas. Over barbecue, he shared, "We all knew the gear was junk. Harrington buried the tests. I got docs from a whistleblower." Emily's eyes lit. Evidence. Then she met with reporters, carefully sharing her story. "This isn't revenge," she said. "It's justice for those who can't speak." A national news piece aired, highlighting the faulty equipment. Public opinion shifted. Letters poured in support from across the country. Victor fought dirty. He sued Emily for defamation, claiming she lied. The courtroom was tense, his lawyers slick. "Miss Thompson is unstable, traumatized," one argued. Emily took the stand, voice firm. "Trauma, yes, but it made me stronger. I saw friends die because of greed. That's the truth." The judge dismissed the case, but Victor smirked. "This isn't over." Emily felt the weight of sacrifice anew, her privacy gone, her peace shattered. But character grew. She mentored young soldiers at the base, teaching resilience. "Strength isn't just muscle," she'd say. "It's heart." As winter came, Emily uncovered more. With Mike's help, she found emails proving Victor knew the risks. He had approved the cheap materials to boost profits. "This could ruin him," Mike said. Emily hesitated. Revenge tempted her, but redemption meant better. She'd expose it right through the courts. The journey tested her limits, but she pressed on, hooked on the promise of truth. Victor underestimated her fire. Soon he'd feel its burn. Part 5, The Final Reckoning. Spring brought change to Willow Creek, and with it, Emily's moment of truth. Armed with evidence, she filed a new suit, not just civil, but pushing for criminal charges. Fraud, endangerment, cover-up. The whistleblower docs sealed it. Victor had known, had lied to the military. The trial gripped the town, courtroom packed, media swarming. Victor took the stand, arrogant as ever. "Accusations from a disgruntled vet," he scoffed. "She's after my money." Emily watched calm. Her turn came. She spoke clearly, voice carrying weight. "I served to protect. You profited from our deaths. This ends now." She presented the emails, Victor paling as they read aloud. He had mocked her, underestimated her bravery. Now the screen of justice showed a different story. The twist hit like thunder. A former employee testified. Victor had skimmed settlement funds, delaying payments to victims. That's why Emily's deposit was late and larger with interest and penalties. He'd mocked her balance, not knowing it exposed his theft. The jury convicted. Victor lost his company, his fortune facing prison. Headlines blared, "Billionaire brought down by brave soldier." The town apologized, respecting Emily's strength. She didn't gloat. Instead, she expanded Sarah's Shield, building a center for vets. At the opening, folks gathered. "You've earned this," Mike said. Emily smiled, heart full. Her journey from mocked soldier to redeemed hero showed sacrifice's power. Justice prevailed, truth exposed. and in quiet moments she felt Sarah's pride. Strength had won.